Hello everyone, this is the finale of What If Naruto was in high school DxD with female Juubi, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Devil's Dimension. With Rias and others. Everyone, except Rias, was shocked when a moment after her pendant started glowing red, a blonde woman appeared beside the redhead out of thin air. Natsumi though ignored all attention and focused on her red-haired surrogate daughter. I am so glad you are fine. You had worried me there for some time vanishing like you did, the blonde said with a soft smile. It wasn't like I did it out of my free will, Rias replied back. But, we have a bigger problem ahead of us, she added pointing towards the apocalyptic beast and the two devils standing in front of the beast. Natsumi turned around, her eyes widening at the sight of the beast. She recognized the beast from her nightmare. Though she had seen just the silhouette of the beast from afar, she still recognized the various chimera-like features. It wasn't just a nightmare then, she thought to herself after composing her features. A single person as a backup. It was Rizvim who decided to speak, diverting everyone's attention back to him. Natsumi recognized him as the one who had teleported into the old school building and kidnapped everyone, based on his energy signature. You think that will be enough to stop the apocalyptic beast? Rizvim added rhetorically with smugness evident in his expression. Natsumi started walking forwards, with Rias and her peerage following her. She channeled a bit of her chakra into the seal on her right hand, silently undoing the first level. A seal in the form of the number 11 glowed slightly on her hand and morphed to number 10 before disappearing again. As this happened, everyone could feel the tremendous increase in power coming from the blonde. It was as if a drop of water had somehow resulted in a devastating tsunami. She continued walking till she was standing beside the leaders of the devil faction. You always seem to appear when my sister seems to be danger, Natsumi-san, Trihexa started, getting a slight widening of eyes from his fellow devil leaders. Trihexa had told about the blonde mystery to both Seraphal and Ajuka, but this was the first time they were seeing her in person. So, this is the Natsumi Uzumaki you told us about? Seraphal asked, getting a nod from her fellow red-haired leader. Well, I care about her and want to protect her, Natsumi simply replied, before she closed her eyes and activated her Rinnegan for a brief moment, focusing some chakra on her right hand while molding her yin-yang chakra into a tri-pronged kunai with a wooden handle. It was a similar design to her father's kunai, the only difference being the seal carved on the handle was different. As Natsumi opened her eyes, having deactivated her dojutsu and lifted her hand in order to throw the kunai, Rias noticed that the seal on the handle resembled the one that was on the back of her pendant. Natsumi threw the kunai towards the older of the silver-haired devils present. The kunai flew with impressive speeds towards its intended target. Rizvim, on his part, simply tilted his head to the left. The kunai sailed past his head without doing any damage, causing the silver-haired devil to smirk smugly, which was reciprocated by the other devil beside him. Natsumi just smirked slightly, as the kunai sailed past its target and vanished from her position. Before anyone had any time to react though, the blonde was behind the older devils, with Razingans in each of her hands which she then proceeded to slam into their unsuspecting backs, catching both the older devils off guard. The blue spinning ball of energy shredded through the devils' clothes and started shredding their backs. The two devils were flung forward towards the faction leaders, landing in front of them, facing the ground. For the onlookers though, everything happened quite fast. One moment Natsumi was standing alongside the devil leaders and the next, she was behind the devils from the old devil faction, grinding their backs with some blue energy ball. I have sealed off their magic completely, Natsumi started, getting everyone's attention. Capture them. Nodding, Trihexa and Ajuka went forwards towards the downed devils, finally noticing that their backs had some kind of strange markings where Natsumi had hit them and the fact that they could no longer sense any energy from the two traitors. They also noticed that the two devils were out cold, probably because of having their entire magic sealed away. Ajuka activated a magic circle under the two downed devils and teleported them away to a pocket dimension in his lab, locking them away. Just as the two downed devils vanished, Trihexa regained control of its body. Natsumi sealing off Rizvim's energy, breaking the slight control the silver-haired devil had on the beast. The apocalyptic beast roared loudly, sending shockwaves all around the desolate place in a show of power. Natsumi turned around to face the beast, just as one of its tails was coming down on her form. She vanished again from the position, appearing again beside her surrogate daughter. It seems, the little control Reisvim had on the monster is gone now, Sirex stated with a grim tone, sweat dribbling down his forehead from the showcase of the beast's power. Trihexa launched a giant fireball towards the group, trying to incinerate them. Seeing the fireball, Natsumi activated her Mangekyo Sharingan, Kamui, she whispered, creating a portal between the fireball and the group, one large enough to swallow the fireball completely, before closing itself. The blonde went through a series of hand signs before slamming her right hand down on the ground. Kuchios, Rashomon, she called out the name of the technique. 4 giant gates rose up from the ground surrounding the beast of Apocalypse Inn, acting like a cage. Trihexa continued to release its power though, attacking the gates continuously in order to break past them. Sensing the vast amount of power radiating off the beast, Natsumi knew that no one apart from her could take on the Chimera head-on. And knowing the Rashomon gates wouldn't last long, she decided to take charge of the situation. I am gonna lure it away. She started, turning around to face the group and getting everyone's attention, create a barrier around everyone then, both the devil and angel energy should resonate very well forming a really strong barrier, she commanded the leaders of the 3 factions. Are you a fool? Going in alone will be suicidal, Azazel said, getting nods from his fellow angels and fallen angel. We will go with you, Sirex added, agreeing with the other leaders. You will just be a hindrance, Natsumi replied back truthfully before adding, do as I say. She commanded again. Can you really do it? It was Rias that asked this time from besides the blonde former shinobi. The redhead knew that her surrogate mother had the best chance of defeating the apocalyptic beast, but she just wanted to make sure. Natsumi nodded with a smile at her surrogate daughter before leaning forward towards the red-haired female devil and whispering a secret in her ear, I am much stronger, Musumi, and straightened up again, getting a smile from the redhead in return. Rias could tell that her surrogate mother wasn't lying. After living with her for so long, she could tell. Come back quickly then, Rias demanded the blonde, getting a nod from her. I will get going then, Natsumi said and started walking towards the beast before anyone else could protest. She channeled her chakra into the seal on her right hand again, this time releasing the seal entirely. The seal on the back of her right hand glowed and the number 10 morphed to 0. Seeing the change in the seal, Rias created a barrier in front of her and her peerage, shielding them from what was about to come. This got confused looks from everyone for a brief moment, but that didn't last long. Just as she formed that barrier, her surrogate mother was covered by a blinding light, which was followed by a strong gust of wind generated as a result of the blonde unleashing her power. Michael formed a barrier around everyone, protecting them from the strong wind with Rias dropping her own barrier now that it was no longer required. Everyone, except Rias, was astounded at the rate with which Natsumi's power was increasing. Soon enough, it reached a point where none of them could gauge the power coming from the light coming from the blonde's position. The light soon died down revealing Natsumi. Though her appearance got shocked gasps from everyone present bar one. The blonde now had 10 long wolf tails covered in golden fur coming out of her back having torn a hole through her shirt. She also had a pair of wolf ears on top of her head. The fur on both her tails and her ears matched her golden blonde hair. The 10 long tails were dancing behind her while her torn skirt was fluttering slightly from the gust of wind her power had generated. So, she was a yokai all along, Sirex breathed out, in amazement. Yes, Rias replied simply with a smile, even though she knew the question was rhetorical. We can't even gauge her power anymore, Ajuka started, still astonished that someone so strong was on their side. It's the same situation as Trihexa. Who is she, Sirs? It was Michael who asked. She is a nurse at my sister's school, Sirex replied, and someone close to her. Boy, I knew she was strong, but this isn't something I expected. Rias just stood there watching her surrogate mother get ready to demolish the beast of Apocalypse. The people surrounding her discussing her mother's prowess brought a strange sense of pride to her, causing a smile to stretch across her face. Rias, did you know about this? Seraphal asked the younger of the redheads. Rias just nodded with a smile, and I believe she can take care of Trihexa. Are you sure? It was Gabriel who asked this time. Yes, she said so herself and I believe in her, the redhead replied back. Believing in the young redhead's word, the adults as well as Rias' own peerage decided to put their faith in the blonde yokai. By this time, the Beast of Apocalypse had managed to blow the gates surrounding him to smithereens. The beast was now solely focused on the 10-tailed yokai, her power having gained its attention. She channeled chakra into her eyes, activating her Rinyu Sharingan. Susanoo, she called out the name of the technique. Orange chakra started enveloping her in the former skeletal armor. The armor continued to grow in size as she was hoisted above the ground as the defensive armor continued to grow in size as well as structural complexity. Soon enough, Natsumi's perfect Susanoo stood as tall as the apocalyptic beast in front of her. The chakra structure resembled a samurai with a tengu-like nose and was clad with robes and ornate armor. It had glowing yellow orbs for eyes and orange wings for flight. Natsumi herself was stranded in a hexagonal crystal-like protrusion on the head of the chakra figure. She willed the Susanoo to dash towards Chimera Beast in front of her, the chakra structure responding to her wishes immediately by running forward and tackling Trihexa. It used both its hands to grab one of the heads and started spinning, lifting the beast with just its head and spinning it around. After a couple of spins, having built enough momentum, Natsumi willed her Susanoo to release the head, sending the beast flying into a distance. She flexed the Susanoo's wings and followed suit, flying after the beast. With Rias and others, Azazel whistled, seeing the blonde forming an energy construct around herself and launching the apocalyptic beast at a distance, in order to take the fight to a safer distance, though the size of Natsumi's construct as well as that of the beast meant that they could still follow it very well. I don't know what to say, Michael said finally, getting his thoughts together on the display, which amounted to nothing apparently. Natsumi's display continued to shock everyone besides Rias, who was the only one who had a clue to her blonde surrogate mother's capabilities. Maybe we should strengthen the barrier, Ajuka started. I doubt Michael alone would be able to hold the fort. Michael just nodded, knowing it was true. So, should we test what Uzumaki-san mentioned? Ajuka continued, channeling his own demonic energy into the pure light energy that Michael's barrier contained. The dark nature of Ajuka's energy interacted with the holy energy of the archangel as if yin was interacting with yang. The resonation caused by the two opposite energies cast with the same will and same intent strengthened the barrier multiple times, as evident by the thickening of the barrier walls. She was right, Ajuka plainly commented, the scientist inside of him impressed by the blonde yukai's theory. I would have never imagined it, Gabriel added, getting nods from the other occupants of the barrier. Rias wasn't listening to them though, her sole focus was on her surrogate mother. She believed in her, but that didn't mean she wasn't worried. Trihexa was considered on the same level as Office and Great Red. The young red-haired devil just didn't want her surrogate mother to get hurt. With Natsumi, having followed the beast's trajectory, landed some distance away from the fallen beast. Her landing sending tremors across the land just the crashing of Trihexa had sent moments prior. Natsumi couldn't sense any kind of negative emotions coming from the beast. That meant, it was the beast's instinct that compelled it towards destruction. I guess that's the reason it is called the Beast of Apocalypse, she thought, remembering the beast's other title that Rias had told her about. The beast got up, ready to launch another fireball on the orange chakra avatar in front of it. The orange chakra avatar raised its right hand forward, an orange katana materializing in its hand, before it held the sword with both hands, before raising it above its head. Just as the fireball was in reach, Natsumi willed the Susanoo to bring the katana down, slashing the fireball into two, each part sailing past the chakra avatar and detonating on the barren land behind her. I guess, eradicating it is the only surefire way to stop it permanently, Natsumi thought. She didn't wait for the beast to attack again this time and launched forward with speed no one expected the giant avatar to have. Once within attacking distance of the chimera, she slashed her chakra katana horizontally, slicing off one of the heads of the beast. To the blonde's surprise though, Trihexa regenerated the head as quickly as it was sliced off and swung one of its tail, hitting the orange avatar where its stomach would have been. The Susanoo slid backwards from the impact, maintaining its footing. I didn't expect such quick regeneration, Natsumi thought to herself as she hit an incoming energy blast, which resembled a Bayudama, from below, sending the attack into the sky. I can't use Hirui no Nai Hakai, she thought as she created a giant Rasengan on the Susanoo's right hand while she held the chakra katan using its left hand. The giant Rasengan had three relatively smaller, but still gigantic Rasengans spinning around it. That technique will erase this whole dimension as well. She leapt towards the beast, hitting one of the heads with the central Rasengan, while the orbiting ones hitting the other heads as they continued to revolve. Wakusei Rasengan, she called out the technique's name. The Rasengans grinding through the heads, shredding the heads into nothing. Black rods of various sizes emerged from all over the chimera's body, covering its body like a porcupine's needles. Seeing the needles, Natsumi cut off the flow of chakra to the Rasengan and jumped back, just in time before the beast sent the rods flying all over. Natsumi used her katana to slice off any rods that came her way. She recognized the rods from her dream, causing her falter slightly. It was similar to the one which had impaled her surrogate daughter in the vision she had. No, that's not gonna happen, she thought to herself, I am not gonna let that happen. I guess, that technique is the only option at the moment. Flashback. 33 years ago. Mount Myoboku. Natsumi was currently training in a vast open grassland in Mount Myoboku, trying to better the telescopic abilities of her Rinja Sharingan. She was wearing a pair of black shorts that ended just above her knees, a red top which hugged her sexy body, and she had a pair of black ninja sandals adorning her feet. Her hair was tied up in a high ponytail. The blonde was currently focusing her left Rinja Sharingan on a water droplet on a leaf about a kilometer away. The objective was to try and focus on as small a mass of water as possible. This was so that she could use the destructive power of the right eye in a controlled explosion instead of blowing everything up. Till now, she had trained the ability to focus on a drop of water a few kilometers away. She wanted to bring the mass down to about a molecule. This would greatly improve her control of the technique. The blonde, though, channeled a bit more chakra than required, and what happened next shocked her. The leaf dispersed into nothing. While what just happened? She asked herself, still in disbelief. This never happened before. It's definitely not Hirui no Nai Hakai. That would have resulted in an explosion. Not to mention, I cannot use it on something with a complex structure like a leaf. Is it a new ability of my left eye? She continued to ponder out loud. Deciding to test it out again, she tried to do the same thing to a different leaf this time. Though, the results didn't match with the previous attempt. She continued to try though. After a few attempts, she was able to achieve the same result. The leaf disintegrated into nothing. Getting the hang of the technique, she decided to test it out on a nearby small plant this time, achieving success in her first try. Her left eye caught the plant's cells to disintegrate into atoms. She did notice that using the technique on the plant required more chakra than on leaf. It seems I can use this technique on things with complex structure as well. Unlike the power of my right eye, she started again rubbing her chin with her left hand, thinking out loud to herself, that means it works on living organisms as well. I did test it out on a plant. I should be careful with this, so as to not vaporize someone by accident. What should I name it? The blonde decided to practice the new technique some more while thinking of a name for it. Flashback end. Deciding to finish things off, Natsumi did say that she will return quickly. The blonde focused her chakra into her eyes. The yellow orbs of the orange chakra avatar changed into the blood red of the Rinja Sharingan, matching the eyes of its caster. Natsumi focused on the beast in front of her with her left eye and called the name of the technique, Zario no Bunkai. The beast in front of her started roaring in pain as it started to disintegrate, starting from its heads. But just as quickly as it was disintegrating, its body was trying to regenerate, slowing down the process and increasing the pain. Seeing the regeneration kicking in, Natsumi channeled more chakra into her left eye, speeding up the decomposition process. The screams soon stopped as the beast's heads were no longer there on its body, having been completely vaporized. Natsumi though continued to channel chakra into her left eye, causing blood to pour out from her left socket and her own regeneration kicking in. Though, the chakra flow was causing enough strain to cause the arteries behind her eye to burst as soon as it was healed. It took a few seconds for the beast to completely disintegrate into the most basic of structures, atoms. Natsumi cut off the chakra flow, finally allowing her arteries to be healed, stopping further blood from flowing out. But by this time, her left cheek was stained in her blood, with some having dropped on her shirt, staining it as well. Natsumi cut off the flow of chakra to her eyes, reverting them back to their original blue color, dispelling the orange chakra avatar as well. I haven't used this much chakra ever, she said out loud to no one. I am exhausted. It's a good thing I tend to recover quickly, she added to herself. She hovered down on the ground slowly, as she sensed the approach of her surrogate daughter and the rest of the people she had just saved in proxy. With Rias and others. Several seconds ago, Rias watched with a smile as her surrogate mother dominated the beast of apocalypse, Trihexa. The others, though, just couldn't get their heads around the fact that there was someone stronger than one of the three beasts. They continued to watch in fascination. That thing is grinding through its heads, Azazel commented, seeing Natsumi use the Rasengan on the beast of apocalypse. She used the same attack against Riser as well. What did she call it again? Sirex said, trying to recall the attack's name. Even though they could see the fight, it was too far away to hear anything apart from Trihex's occasional roars or the sound of the blasts. I think it was Rasengan, Issei recalled the name. It was one of the coolest moves he had ever seen. Before anybody could say anything else though, their attention got attracted by what happened next. The beast of apocalypse started disintegrating. It was slow at start, but it quickened up. It was the heads that went first, silencing any roaring sounds that the beast made. We should go, Rias called out, knowing full well that this was it. Her surrogate mother had done it, what even the biblical God couldn't. Assessing the situation themselves and deeming it safe when only the lower portion of the beast remaining, both Ajuka and Michael stopped the flow of energy to the barrier, resulting in it dissolving instantly. Rias was the first one to sprout her wings and take off towards the battlefield. The others following suit after her. The group could see the beast of apocalypse vaporize into thin air as they neared the location of the battle, or more like a one-sided beatdown. The orange chakra avatar was the next to vanish, leaving an exhausted-looking Natsumi hovering down towards the ground. Rias landed next to her surrogate mother with a smile. You did it, she exclaimed, before her eyes landed on the blood staining her cheeks. Her expression quickly changed from that of happiness to worry on the sight. Are you all right? The redhead asked. Natsumi, sensing her concern both from her emotions as well as her voice, smiled at her, trying to ease her concerns. I am fine. Don't worry. But then what about the blood? She asked further as she lifted her right hand and using her sleeve started wiping the blood away gently to check if her surrogate mother was injured somewhere, momentarily forgetting that the blonde had regenerative powers as well. Oh, that. I just strained my left eye too much. It has already healed, don't worry, the blonde responded back, but made no attempt to stop the redhead from wiping away the blonde. The action making her feel warm inside. Phew, that's good, the redhead sighed in relief and backed off once she had wiped most of the blood away. And indeed, true to the blonde's words, she didn't find any kind of injury. By this point, the other people of the group had landed as well and just silently watching the exchange between the surrogate mother-daughter duo. Thank you for saving us, Uzumaki-san, Sirex expressed his gratitude once his sister backed off, getting their attention, as he bowed his head in gratitude. The others followed his example and replicated his gesture. All of them knew they wouldn't have been alive if not for the timely intervention of the blonde in front of them. All right, Natsumi started, awkwardly shaking her hands in front of her. Straighten up. It's embarrassing, she added. The devils, angels and fallen angels, all straightening up, with smiles on their faces. You might be the strongest being on this planet, but you are still very modest, Michael said with a smile. Yeah, about that, Natsumi started, her expression turning serious. Please keep what happened here a secret. Why? If people got to know about your deeds, you will be rewarded and gain popularity as well. Seraphal was the one to voice her thoughts this time. And that's why. I don't want anything, just my peace and quiet. So, please keep this a secret, the blonde shinobi responded. Okay, we understand, Ajuka was the one to reply, ready to comply with his savior's wish. As you wish, Uzumaki-san, Gabriel agreed as well. Thank you for understanding, Natsumi thanked them for accepting her request. So, is that reason for you hiding your true self as well? Sirex asked the blonde, who just nodded in response. What happened to Trihexa, by the way, if you don't mind us asking? It seemed to vaporize into thin air. Azazel was the one to ask the question this time, though the curious looks on everyone's faces let her the blonde know that all of them wanted to know that answer. Natsumi decided to just out with the truth. It's one of my abilities, allows me to disintegrate something into simple atoms, she answered truthfully. Everyone got silent for a moment, not knowing what to say. It seemed like a dangerous ability, especially considering the blonde was able to vaporize Trihexa, a being on par with Great Red and Office, the two strongest beings in the world, At least till now. That's one dangerous ability, Ajuka summarized everyone's thoughts. I agree, was Natsumi's simple response as she once again sealed off her powers. So, shall we get back to the school? The blonde asked. Yes, we were in the middle of something. Let's finish the summit for today and go out for dinner, shall we? In celebration, Sirex proposed, getting cheers from Issei and Azazel, while nods of approval from others. The red-haired devil leader created a magic circle underneath everyone, teleporting them back to the old school building in Kuo Academy. Main Assembly Hall. Old school building. Kuo Academy. The group teleported back to the meeting room. Rias excused herself and Natsumi in order to show her surrogate mother to the bathroom she uses, so that she could get cleaned. Natsumi took a quick bath and changed into an identical outfit she was wearing earlier, but this one was in pristine condition as she had used her Rinnegan to create the garments, having destroyed the previous one herself. In the meantime, the delegations from the three factions decided on the timings and days of the future meetings before they were joined by the blonde shinobi and her red-haired surrogate daughter. The group then departed the club building, having already decided on the restaurant they were going to visit. A couple of months later, a week before Ria's birthday, Uzumaki residence. Natsumi was in the kitchen preparing dinner. She was wearing blue shorts and a white tank top. Over the top, she had an orange apron. Her hair was tied up in a neat bun. Her hands were moving subconsciously with the main topic on her mind being the 19th birthday of her surrogate daughter. This was the first time since they had first met that they would be celebrating it together. In the previous years, Rias' family threw a party in celebration and Rias had no choice but to attend, so they never got to celebrate it together. The party was planned this year as well, but now that they lived together, they could do a small celebration of their own at midnight. Natsumi was currently thinking of the preparations she needed to do. She had decided to bake the cake herself, her surrogate daughter's favorite cake at that. She had already gotten the candles as well. The only thing left was the gift. She had already been to the stores, but didn't find anything suitable for her red-haired surrogate daughter. Oh, there was that shirt dress, the blonde thought out loud, remembering the red and black checkered shirt dress she saw at one of the clothing stores in the mall, a couple of months back. I will go get that tomorrow. She nodded to herself, happy that she finally thought of something. I hope it hasn't sold out yet, she added. Maybe, I should get some black boots to go along with the dress. Rias doesn't have those, Natsumi continued to think out loud to herself. Just as she finished cooking and turned off the stove, she heard her front door opening and closing shut. Speak of the devil, Natsumi thought with a fond smile. I am home, Ka-chan, Rias announced from the entryway as she made her way into the hall. Welcome home, Musumi, Natsumi replied back, dinner is ready. So, go and quickly take a bath. Okay, I will be right back, the redhead replied as she made a beeline to her room in order to do what her surrogate mother asked to do. Once she took a bath, she got dressed in a blue knee-length frock. She dried her hair with a hair dryer and went out to the dining table. Natsumi had already set up the table. She took a seat opposite her surrogate mother and they both enjoyed dinner with Rias telling her surrogate mother about day's club activities. Once done with dinner, they watched some television as per the usual routine and went to bed after. Next week, on the eve of Rias' birthday, Natsumi had been able to get the shirt dress and a pair of black ankle-high boots as presents for her surrogate daughter. She had them gift-wrapped and had hidden the gifts in a storage seal inside her closet. Currently she was in the kitchen decorating a red velvet cake that she had baked herself. She had on a knee-length blue frock with red and white floral patterns underneath an orange apron. Her long blonde hair was tied in a loose bun. She had left the school grounds early today in order to prepare her daughter's favorite cake. She was humming a tune to herself as she created flower patterns on the top of the cake using frosting. Once she was done with the frosting, she wrote the message Happy Birthday Rias on the cake. After having done that, she stepped back and little and admired her handiwork with a smile on her face. It's finally done, the blonde said to herself. She then took out a sealing scroll from the front pocket of her apron and went on to seal the cake in a storage seal, not wanting Rias to find out about the cake. For the last 7 days, she hadn't talked about the redhead's birthday. She was pretending as if she didn't remember about it as she wanted to give a small surprise to her surrogate daughter. Having done with everything, she went on to prepare dinner, wanting to complete her work before the red-haired devil arrived home. A couple of hours later, just as she finished with dinner preparations, she heard the front door open and close shut, accompanied with a familiar voice, "I am home, Ka-chan." "Welcome back, Rias-chan," Natsumi responded back. "I am exhausted today. There was just so much paperwork today," the redhead said as she emerged into the combined kitchen hall area. "Is that so? Go on, take a relaxing bath then, I have already prepared some hot water," Natsumi said as she took off her apron and placed it on the counter. "Thanks, Ka-chan," Rias smiled as she went on to do what her surrogate mother had suggested. Natsumi in the meanwhile decided to read a novel while relaxing on the couch. Once done with the bath, the redhead came back out. "I am feeling so much better now," she remarked with a smile, getting her surrogate mother's attention, who was reading some book on the couch. She had on a plain green-colored knee-length frock, with her long red hair let loose. "I am glad to hear that. Let's have dinner now, shall we?" Natsumi replied, getting up from the couch having closed the book she was reading. "Okay," Rias smiled back. The surrogate mother-daughter duo sat on the dining table opposite to each other after having set up the table. Once dinner was done, they cleaned the table along with the dishes before relaxing on the couch to have their family television time as usual. After watching television while chatting about some random stuff, with Natsumi taking extra precautions to steer clear of any birthday-related topics, the blonde surrogate mother decided to call it a night. "Shall we call it a night, Musumi? It's almost 11 now," she said to her red-haired surrogate daughter. Rias looked hurt for a second, before she composed herself and replied back, "Sure, Ka-chan," as she grabbed the remote and switched off the television. Natsumi noticed the brief look of hurt on the redhead's face, which made her almost throw her surprise plans to the garbage bins. But she knew she will get to see an elated face soon enough, so she held on. Both the surrogate mother and daughter got up from the couch and went towards their respective rooms, with Natsumi following Rias, switching off the lights as she exited the hall. "Good night, Ka-chan," Rias turned towards her mother and said with a smile as she was about to enter her room. "Good night, Musumi," the blonde replied back, as the redhead went into her room and closed the room behind her. Natsumi continued onto her own room and closed the door. Rias' room. The redhead's smile vanished as soon as she closed her room's door, replaced by an expression that showed a bit of hurt. Has she really forgotten about today? She thought to herself. The redhead was really excited. It was the first time she got to celebrate her birthday with her surrogate mother, now that they have been living together. But that fact that she never brought it up and even decided to head to bed before midnight did hurt her a little. Though, she soon composed herself, chalking the birthday thing up to the blonde's memories. It might have just slipped her mind for now. It happens sometimes. She will remember it by tomorrow, she thought to herself, before with a satisfied nod, she entered her bathroom in order to brush her teeth and call it a night. Natsumi's room. 5 minutes before midnight. Natsumi was laying on her bed with her bedside lamp on when she noticed the time on the clock kept on her nightstand. Only 5 more minutes to go, the blonde thought excitedly as she got up from the bed, switched on the lights and took out the birthday candles she had hidden in her cupboard along with some matches and the storage scroll that contained the cake. She got down on the edge of her bed and unsealed the cake and proceeded to place the 19 candles she bought along the circumference of the cake in a circle. She fired up a matchstick and lit up the candles. Having gotten ready, she tuned towards the clock. The clock showed that it was midnight. Smiling brightly, she picked up cake and exited her room. Rias' room. Rias was lying on her bed, trying to go to sleep, but was unable to do so. She looked at the clock on her nightstand and saw that it was midnight already. She heard the door to her room click as she sat up on the bed. She saw her surrogate mother holding a cake. The candles illuminated her face in the dark, as the blonde started singing, having seen that the redhead was up. "Happy birthday to you." Rias smiled happily on seeing the blonde. The blonde turned on the lights with one hand while continuing to sing, "Happy birthday to you," as she moved towards the bed. "Happy birthday, dear Rias," she continued. Rias shoved the blankets to one side as Natsumi placed the cake on the bed. "Happy birthday to you," the blonde finished, sitting down on the bed in front of the redhead with the cake placed between them. "Happy birthday, Musumi," she greeted her red-haired surrogate daughter with a smile. "Thank you, Ka-chan," Rias replied back with her own smile. "I thought you had forgotten," she added. "Never," Natsumi simply replied, "it was all planned. I wanted to surprise you a little," she revealed. "Now, it's time to cut the cake," she added. Rias nodded, her smile never leaving her face. When she noticed there was no knife, you forgot the knife, Car-chan, she pointed out. Natsumi chuckled sheepishly, noticing that she indeed forget the knife. Ha, I guess I was too excited, she said as she hurried to the kitchen, leaving a chuckling Rias behind. The blonde soon returned, having brought back a knife, handing it to the redhead before taking her earlier place on the bed. I hope days like these continue forever, the redhead wished before blowing out the candles, before cutting a piece of the cake, removing the candle sticking on it and offering said piece to her surrogate mother. Natsumi accepted the gesture with a smile and opened her mouth to take a bite of the offered cake. She then took the remaining piece from Rias' hands and offered it to the redhead, who was happily ate it. Happy birthday, Musumi, the blonde wished the redhead again. Thank you, Car-chan, Rias replied before getting up on her knees and giving the blonde a hug over the cake, with Natsumi happily embracing back. Rias gave her surrogate mother a quick peck on the cheeks as she broke the embrace, getting Natsumi's smile to widen further. The cake is really delicious, Car-chan, she started, did you make it? She asked her surrogate mother. Yep, came the blonde's response, I remembered that red velvet was your favorite, so I tried my hand at baking it. I am really glad you like it. The blonde suddenly remembered something. Oh, I forgot the gifts, the blonde said as she got up again and headed for her room. Rias just sat there smiling while looking at the cake that her surrogate mother had made for her. Natsumi soon returned with 2 gift-wrapped boxes placed on top of each other. Rias got excited, she always liked receiving gifts, especially from her surrogate mother. These are for you, Natsumi handed the gifts to the redhead and took a seat in front of her again. Can I open these? The redhead asked with childlike excitement, getting a chuckle from the blonde. Go ahead, she replied. Rias carefully unwrapped the top box first before opening it and seeing a simple but beautiful red and black checkered shirt dress. She took out the dress and unfolded it, looking at the dress in full. It's really beautiful, Car-chan. I love it. Thank you, she replied with a smile, before packing the dress pack into the box and placing it on the side before picking up the other gift. Rias then went on to unwrap the second box and opened it to find a pair of ankle-high black boots with medium-sized heels and a golden chain on one side of each boot. I really like these as well. They should go well with the dress, the red said, smiling at her surrogate mother. That's what I thought while getting them, Natsumi smiled back. Thank you for the gifts, the redhead thanked her surrogate mother again. I am gonna wear this dress to the party tonight, she added. Oh, you like them that much? The blonde asked back. Very, came the redhead's short response. I am really glad, the blonde started. Now, we should go to sleep. It has already gotten late, she added as she picked up the cake and got up. Happy birthday, again, Musumi, the blonde wished the redhead again with the ever-present smile. Thank you, Car-chan, Rias replied back with her own smile as she packed the boots again and placed the boxes on the other side of the bed for now. Good night, the blonde said as she proceeded towards the door. Good night, Rias replied back. The blonde switched off the lights and closed the door behind her as she left. Rias too laid down the bed, the smile not leaving her lips, and closed her eyes, as she drifted off to sleep. Natsumi went into the kitchen to place the cake into the refrigerator before going back to her own room and getting under the covers and drifting off a well. 1 month later. Uzumaki residence. It has been a month since Rias' 19th birthday. Nothing major happened in the last month except Rias preparing for the entrance exams for university. The redhead was currently in her 3rd and final year of high school and would be graduating in a few weeks' time. She had decided to continue to live in the human world while attending a university to learn about the traditional Japanese culture and history she loved. Rias was currently in her room at her study desk filling out entrance exam forms for the universities she wished to attend, the first priority being the Kuo University, as studying there would ensure that she can continue to live with her surrogate mother while also monitoring the rest of her peerage who would still be in high school as she and her queen moved on to higher studies. The redhead was currently wearing orange shorts along with black tank top. She had let her hair loose. Her wrists and ankles had the black weighted bands on them, with each of them having a number 600, while her left wrist band had an extra number 6.5 on it. She had increased the weight-gravity combo over the last few months. Having done with the forms, she released a sigh. All done. Let's take a bath before going out for dinner, she thought out loud as she tied up her loose hair in a tight bun. She got up from her chair, stretched a bit and walked into the bathroom. Natsumi was currently out in the kitchen preparing dinner while humming a tune to herself. She was sporting brown joggers along with a white tank top underneath an orange apron. Her hair was tied up in a loose bun with 2 chest-length bangs framing her beautiful face. It had been pretty uneventful for her after the Trihexa fiasco, as true to their words, the faction leaders had kept her involvement a secret from the rest of their factions, which pleased the blonde very much. And the uneventful days meant that the blonde got to spend her time with her red-haired surrogate daughter peacefully. Rias, the blonde called out a bit loudly, "Dinner is almost ready," she finished, so as to let the redhead know. Having gotten no response back, she decided to check on the redhead, having already done with the cooking. She covered the cooking pot with a lid, turned off the stove and took off her apron, placing the orange garment on the counter beside the stove. She walked into the redhead's room, her ears picking up the sound of the shower coming from bathroom. Oh, she was taking a shower, the blonde thought as she moved towards the bathroom door. Rias, she called out the name of her surrogate daughter again as she knocked on the door. The blonde could hear the shower being turned off, accompanied by Rias' voice, "Yes, Ka-chan. Dinner is ready," Natsumi started, "so, once you are done, come out," she finished. "Yes, Ka-chan," came the response from the other side of the bathroom door as the sound of the shower started again. Smiling softly, Natsumi was about head back into the kitchen when she noticed some papers lying on the study table. Getting curious, she walked towards the table, peering down on the filled forms. The blonde's eyes widened slightly on seeing the information filled out in the forms. Her smile widened as a few tears escaped her eyes. She was so lost in her own joyous thoughts that she didn't notice the shower turning off. Rias exited the bathroom with a white towel wrapped around her frame with her hair tied up in a bun. She noticed her surrogate mother staring at something on her study desk, most probably the forms, she thought with a smile. "I wanted to surprise her, but I guess the cat is out of the bag," the redhead's thoughts continued. Rias had wanted to surprise her surrogate mother, but she didn't mind one bit that her surprise had failed. "Ka-chan," the redhead called out, gaining the blonde's attention as said blonde turned around to face the red-haired devil. Rias could see the joyful smile on the blonde's face along with the tears streaking her face. "Are you sure about this?" the blonde asked, gesturing towards the forms on the table. "Yep. I wanted to surprise you, but I guess I got sloppy," Rias replied with a smile. "And what about your family?" the blonde asked again as she walked slowly towards her red-haired surrogate daughter. "Oka-sama and Otu-sama said I can do whatever that makes me happy. They are happy as long as I am happy," the redhead replied, her smile still in place. Having reached the redhead, Natsumi embraced the redhead in a tight hug, with Rias returning it happily. "Thank you for such a gift," Natsumi started, "even though I was still very happy with what I have now, but this makes me happier," the blonde finished. "It makes me happier too, Ka-chan," the red-haired devil replied as they broke off the hug, with the blonde planting a small kiss on the redhead's temple. Natsumi rubbed the tears on her cheeks with the back of her hand. "Come on out quickly, dinner is ready. Then we can go out to get some dessert," the blonde said. "Can we get cheesecake?" the redhead asked with a wide smile at the mention of dessert. "Whatever you want, Musumi," the blonde replied with her own smile. "Yes," Rias replied enthusiastically as she went on towards her cupboard picking out a peach-colored knee-length frock as well as some undergarments. Natsumi exited the room as well, leaving the redhead to get dressed, her mind still thinking of the application forms the redhead had filled. Back in Rias' room, the application forms contained 2 special entries. Against the mother's name, the redhead had filled in 2 names: Venelana Gremory and Natsumi Uzumaki, while the field applicant's name had been filled as Rias Uzumaki Gremory. That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe, and see you guys later.